Happy Yuletide cheer, all. Hey, so I wanted to get on here and share a little bit more and offer some more gifts and insights that I've received for me and that I'm, willing to share and be vulnerable with and in and through my own ways. Just to give what's been giving and through forgiving and for forgiving. Forgiving to like all. And that's the magic of forgiveness and what it's really for. Yeah, it just opens up so much space for that true giving to come through and be expressed and be honored and be blessed and be a blessing. And that's what we are. We're blessings and gifts for each other and for ourselves, through being ourselves, through being true to ourselves, through being ourselves, through all our ways, through all of her ways, through all of life's ways, through all of love's ways, through all of God's ways that make up this infinite well that we are, this infinite well of possibilities, this infinite well-being. And there's so many ways to be well, and there's so many ways to be. And there's infinite possibilities and infinite beings, infinite ways to be and to be free, to free this gift of being. And that's what I've been working with Secret Alchemy the last few years, and especially this last year, very intensely. And there's been so much great shadow stuff come up to do some potent shadow work this year. It's been incredible, an amazing year. And so I just want to thank this year for offering to me so many gifts and so many blessings that didn't feel like gifts at first. It felt like shit. It felt like a big pile of shit dumping down. But it is like, in a way, all this is for us so that we can reclaim our responsibility and our worthiness and realize like the truth and remember who we are. And so that's the gift to help us shift all of this shit, all of this. It's all part of this love that we are, and we get to be, and we get to choose to be responsible for, and know what's ours and know what's not, and know what is ours to carry for the whole, and what is ready to be released and let go of and blessed and thanked for teaching us and showing us and helping us like remember who we really are, for giving, so we can give and be and share and receive and embody this gift of life. So to be which there's a correspondence here. I have some soul collage cards out that I work with and that I just draw from a huge deck that I've made over the years. I haven't made any like small cards in a long time, but I usually lately been doing the big boards, which I have adapted and I call soul stories. But it's all about the myths and the stories and the archetypes and all of these parts of ourselves at play on the inner and outer stage. And soul collage has been a great way for me to know or remember some of these parts and some of these parts that have been at play in my world, in my psyche, in my relationships, through my being, in and through our ways of being. And they're really fun to play with and to meet and to be with and to learn and to teach. And it's just one of the things that I'm grateful for is that gift of art and creativity and play, playing with and through the psyche and all her ways. And getting to know ourselves, remembering ourselves. Love thyself, know thyself, be thyself. Honor thyself. And this little card here, made a couple years ago. And it's like a mother and child archetype. And the mother is an angel, and she has wings, and But she's got the face of Medusa on there. And then there's a container and it says to be. To be. And I didn't quite understand like what it was when I was making it. What it symbolized and everything, but I've always been like drawn to that archetypal Medusa figure because she was seen as like an enemy figure, but I mean she has a lot of power, and yeah, just like some of the myths and stories around her, yeah, some of them have been distorted or changed, like through that patriarchal system. That does, like, yeah, it's interesting how some of our stories and our myths have been like subverted or distorted in certain ways, but the bones of the story still remain, and the truth is still within like those apparent lies on the surface. And so yeah, there's a lot to say about that because there is so much depth beneath the surface of things and the appearance of things. And so just yeah, thinking about the correspondences that come through that archetypal Medusa too, and who she's associated with, and like the snakes, the living snakes on her head, and that crown. Yeah, that's a lot of Kundalini power right there. And also related to Athene or Athena, goddess of wisdom, and also Sophia, yeah, the Christos Sophia. And so yeah, the wings too, the winged serpent, and yeah, that dark mother, yeah, the dark mother, the dark goddess, and yeah, the child that's held inside, yeah, of all of us. And I like the yellow on it too, the yellow of the sun, yeah, and the golden container, yeah. And so to be to be or not to be. And yeah, talking about forgiveness. So a couple days ago I did a video on forgiveness and the gift of forgiveness and what that's opened up for me, and working with forgiveness and through the gift of forgiveness, so I can give, receive, share love authentically, for me, with we, in service to the whole and our integrity. And so I received this book last week, The Forgiving Self. And I did a video about that last week when I received it and what that brought up for me, my experiences in receiving it. And it did help me listen to my inner child who wanted to be acknowledged and heard and seen. And I received so much beauty from that, from being willing to forgive the hurt and the pain and the heartache and all of the injustices that I felt, were being perpetuated, and that we were blind to in our own ways, that we've been blinded, we haven't seen how we played into that and how we've been played, and how we've played at being instead of like truly being like who we are. And sometimes we can get carried away in our roles and in our stories and in the parts that we play, that we kind of forget that who we really are. And that's funny because life is forgiving, but sometimes we get to forget so we can forgive. And forgiving and just remembering and receiving all of these things and grateful for them, and through all of love's ways. And I just flipped open this book kind of unconsciously, so let's see like what's here. It says, because any pain threatens to bring us back to our deepest unmourned losses. We can cry for the whales or the actors on the screen, but we feel nothing for ourselves. This undigested, unprocessed pain represents, among many other things, the raw material for resentment and grudge. In adult life, the inability to work through and move beyond hurts and losses may apply to the smallest of setbacks. A child's anger, a boss's grimace, the failure of a relatively unimportant person to return a call. The list is endless because of the unique associations that the minutest events can trigger in us. Wow. These associations threaten to return us to that hopeless place of childhood despair, just a whiff of which is enough to bring on depressive symptoms or panicked flight. Yeah. It says, can you allow yourself the suffering and the loving changes that may emanate from it? Do you flee panicked by the implications of your own badness? Or do you become more covert and more controlling, try even harder to erase your son's timidity so you won't have to be haunted by it anymore? I doubt there is a person alive for whom the flight from mourning implicit in these questions is not relevant. A great deal of work in psychotherapy has to do with interrupting the depressive plunges or obsessive escapes associated with the flight from mourning to which people are prone. I think we have all marveled at people who cope with physical disabilities creatively, who can lose their sight or become wheelchair bound and still hold on to a good feeling about themselves and their lives, even to the point in some cases of turning dross to gold. They manage to mourn their loss fully enough to hold on to a positive relationship with the body that betrayed them and to reopen themselves to the ways in which it is still possible for them to be alive. In the process, they recruit the love and help of those that they are meaningfully connected with, and perhaps reach out to new people as well. Others with the same disabilities succumb to defeat and embitterment. They cannot find a way out of the feeling that the gods have turned against them, and they may feel that the people they love have done so as well. Without realizing it, they may act in ways that promote their isolation. In both of these responses to tragic loss, we hear the echoes of early experience, early love and encouragement, or neglect and oppression, as well as early losses and how they were managed. Wow, that was great. Our inability to move beyond hurts and losses may apply to the smallest of setbacks in adult life, yeah. This undigested, unprocessed pain represents, among many other things, the raw material for resentment and a grudge. And so, wow, that just illustrates how the gift of forgiveness can help free us from that pain. But we need to be able to mourn like the loss and that pain, acknowledge that pain, which is interesting because in my little group of cards I have here, I want to share them with you. There's this one, mourning and loss and grief, and being with our pain and meeting it and allowing it to show us what we really need, what we can offer and be and give and receive for ourselves is that gift of forgiveness and that gift of meeting that pain with love, through love, for giving. And so, that's what I've been working with this last little while. And I'll just share the rest of these cards that I have here. Here is White Tara, Buddhist or Tibetan Buddhist archetype and deity, like the mother of all mothers, the mother of the Buddha. And then I have my unicorn, totem and companion and spirit guide, the reflection of our innocence and purity. Our own perfect nature. That's what unicorn helps remind me of, is that innocence and that childlike purity that we do have and we are. And Kuan Yin, goddess of compassion, and in Chinese Buddhism she's known as the divine voice. Compassion for ourselves and others, because we're all going through this dark night. Remembering compassion, and her spirit of compassion, she holds for all beings. And then the dark goddess here, with the fires burning and raging, and she's standing and witnessing, allowing of that purification to burn away what is no longer needed so that new life can be born through the ashes. And here's just a little card that I found, and I just put it in my group of soul collage cards. It's a lot of butterflies, transformation, and change. And then here is a little card, and I think it is of Vishnu. I kept the thing on the back of the card. It's like microcosm, macrocosm. Vishnu is macrocosm. Depictions of man as macrocosm occur in numerous symbol systems. In this Indian painting, the best loved and most human of Vishnu's avatars, Krishna, is shown as a symbol of the world containing men, animals, and the heavens in his body. Four-armed Krishna holds his attributes, the discus, conch, lotus flower, and club. And so, yeah, I've also been kind of looking at the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer, which is like Brahma, Vishnu, and Krishna, I believe. But yeah, I'm a dabbler, and so yeah, I might be misinformed about that, but that's like what resonates, and curiosity at play here now. But yeah, I do appreciate like this picture and this reflection and this archetype for like linking the earth and the heavens. And that's been a theme coming up too, like the bridge and the circle and the arc, and all a part of the same thing, the same being. So, and then I did have like this one at the bottom to be. So there's just a little group of cards there, and sometimes I don't exactly know why, like I get them out, but then I do receive why and what gifts they have for me, and like it's just interesting just playing with all of these tools that are available and accessible, and just creative modalities, and seeing into me for my intimacy, and my remembrance and my remembering of me, remembering and dismembering, to differentiate and divide and unify and multiply. And that's pretty cool and pretty profound, and there's some depth in there to be found. And so going back to this Forgiving Self book, I didn't know when I received it who had sent it, but I kind of guessed that my dad had sent it, and I actually called him the other day to wish him happy Festivus and happy belated Christmas, and 9th night of Yule. The 9th night of Yule, that was sacred to Odin and the fathers and the divine masculine. And the tradition was to honor the men in our lives that have enriched and blessed and impacted our lives in like profound and deep ways, and to thank them for their service and for their honor and their protection and for who they are in our lives, the light that they are in our lives. So I was inspired to call my dad and just to tell him, hey, thanks for being in my life, and thanks for being a light in my life, and I love you. And he asked me, so did you get my book? And I was like, oh, well, yes, I did. Thank you very much. And I thought that was from you, and it was kind of cool, like, to get that confirmation and to say thank you. I really did appreciate it. And I shared a little bit about my experience in receiving it, and and we had an authentic exchange, and it was pleasant, and it felt right, and it felt generous, and I felt like the honor had been expressed and acknowledged and appreciated, and so that made me feel all right, and just I'm blessed, and I feel like our connections do enrich our lives, and taking the time and to express that and to acknowledge and honor that too, and we're appreciating that. That means we're increasing the value of those things that we do love and appreciate. And so and seeing their worth you know? And so, yeah, seeing that, yeah, those gifts and their worth and their value and appreciating them. So I, yeah, wrote a little bit about some things about observance and honor, and then about having a conversation with my dad, and that was nice because we've been a little bit separated in certain ways, or a little bit distanced, and that was kind of, yeah, causing me a little bit of pain, and certain things came up around that, and certain stories, and that had to do with, like, yeah, being enough or not enough, and or too much, and not allowing me to be. And yeah, I didn't feel like there was space for me, like, to be true to me, or to, yeah, to show up and be me. And yeah, there was a lot of things around that that had to do with an old wound, and old pain, and yeah, old stories and old mythologies. And so been getting some amazing clarity and gifts around that through paying attention to my dreams and the stories that are coming up for me. And I just shared a video, like, with a dream that I had about that in certain ways, where I wanted someone who I admired, and yeah, to see my worth for me, like, so that I could see it through their eyes. And I realized that that wasn't going to be enough, and that's why it was never enough, and that's why I was never enough, because I needed to see my own worth through my own eyes. And so I thank the gift, I thank those gifts for showing me, like, what I really needed to see. And I can honestly say that I do see my self-worth now, and I don't need to seek external approval or validation. So that has freed up a lot of space and a lot of energy to be with what is, and to acknowledge and honor what is. And seeing that I really needed, and I got to receive, and I got to respond and offer that to me, to my inner child, my wounded child that was hurting and didn't feel received, and didn't feel acknowledged, and didn't feel seen, and yeah, or cared for, or didn't feel worthy. And so, yeah, I got a lot of huge things about that, and where I said, okay, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you, I'm here now, and I'm willing to listen to you and acknowledge you now. And that's what I needed for me. I didn't really need that from outside of me, but that's what I believed, because that's what my old stories told me, yeah, that I needed. And it was interesting, yeah, to see those things. I'm seeing more clearly now. So it's funny that someone who I deem worthy or attractive or all-knowing, I wanted them to see me, to validate me. And when their image shatters, that really disappoints me, because I needed them to show me my own worth, or my ego wanted to be enough in certain ways so they could fulfill my desires of being seen. A loop, and a never enough story or script. Yeah, that I wasn't worthy enough or deserving. Yeah. And so, but now I know I am, and I can claim that for me, and I can choose that for me, and I can be that for me, and embody that for me. Yeah. So that was some good, amazing closure from this, yeah, alchemy work I've been doing, this shadow work I've been choosing. Yeah, because of my love for me and we. And healing, yeah, my wounds and my old stories, and transforming them into, yeah, true stories of worth. Yeah. And the gifts that they are, the gifts that we are. And so, yeah, a never-ending cycle of pain, blame, expectation, shame, resentment, the wheel of illusion and suffering, disconnection from my own true self and true sight. That was, yeah, what was kind of blocking me from really seeing those things. And I got to go to the root of it, and the heart of the matter. So, yeah, it had to do with looking and paying attention to those stories that were coming up and listening to those archetypes, the inner child, the wounded child, and the wounded parent too. Yeah. So those were huge gifts for me, that I got to receive, and I'm grateful for the work. Yeah, and for all the blessings that the work, yeah, has been able to um, produce and fruit for me. Yeah, getting down to the root to get to the fruit. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. And so there have been a lot of dreams and a lot of synchronicities and themes, which pleasantly surprised me, and how it's all connects and relates and corresponds, like, to the energy that we focus on as well. And yeah, just with the universe and what God and love and life has for us and what we've chosen for ourselves. And it's just pretty awesome. Yeah. I'm awed and awe-inspired by all of this and all the gifts and all the shifts through this forgiveness, through this gift of forgiveness. And letting go of judgments and resentments and expectations, or being willing, like really not knowing, like, sometimes how to do that, but just like, okay, I'm willing to let this go now, and I offer it back now, and I'm willing to see all I need to see about it, and so I can be free, and love can be free, and we can be freed from our suffering. And so doing my part, playing my part in this this play, and yeah, just showing up and willing to receive, and through all of life's ways, through all of my ways, through all of her ways, all of God's ways, all of love's ways. And so last night I wrote down gifts and homecoming, clarity, joy, love, peace, true prosperity, forgiveness, release, surrender, acceptance, atonement, at one with me in peace through forgiving. And I wanted to share a little story too about how I've been able to shift some things. It's been like a little bit challenging and difficult to like let go of some of the self-righteous scripts and stories, and how I think things should be, and how I think others need to be, or how I think they need me to be, or yeah, and that was causing a lot of resentment, and that was interesting, like how that kept cycling and coming up to trigger me or bother me in certain ways, until yeah, I was able to pay attention and follow some of the stories, and yeah, and see into some of those stories and see the truth that was hidden within that like lie, within that story that I was telling myself, or that had been programmed into repeating itself. Yeah, repeating these patterns, these generational, cultural, family patterns. Yeah, inherited and implanted beliefs. Yeah, through those programs that are reinforced, and those stories that are reinforced through the attachments that we have to our identities, or who we think we are and who we think we need to be, or like who our ego wants really to be, or to be seen as, like as a false image. And yeah, it's really interesting to look at those things. So I've gotten huge amounts of blessings and gifts and gold nuggets out of that. And yeah, turning the dross to gold, transforming the poison into nectar. Yeah, and reclaiming my own mind. And so, yeah, I received some Christmas cards this year from some family members, and I was grateful for that, and the sweet gesture that and gift that holds. Just offering and just saying, hi, we love you, and Merry Christmas, and we're thinking about you, and all of that, and just including, like all of us and the family and their wishes, well wishes, and joy and everything. And there's been there was one cousin who she doesn't believe what I believe, and that's okay too. Like, I know we're on our own journey and things, and I've been asking myself, how can I be more tolerant, and how can I be more patient, and how can I be more accepting of their ways of being, because that's what I want for me too. Like, I want to be allowed to live my own life how I see I need to for me, and I get to for me. I want to have that freedom. And I mean, I do have that freedom and I claim that freedom. But I also want to cooperate, and I don't want to cut everyone out of my life that doesn't want, that doesn't believe what I believe. And it's just, it has seemed that things have become so divisive and so polarized that sometimes, yeah, we can't share space together sometimes, like without like some kind of battle of wills, or some kind of ego measuring, or condemnation or judgment, like stories, like that we get carried away and play through, these things, and then we're just at odds or at war with each other. And so I was just kind of looking at these things, and like, can we have like the open minds that we claim that we do, and all of that. And so, like, well, I was disappointed in certain family members and friends, and yeah, others, that, yeah, just didn't realize like how closed-minded like we can be, like sometimes, and like how closed off or shut down we can be, or appear to be. And it's just because we're trying to defend ourselves, really, or protect ourselves, or protect our beliefs or our stories, because we're so attached to them, And so, yeah, I've been working at that and looking into that for the last couple weeks, and it's like, okay, I'm willing to be more open too, and to be softer, and to be more tolerant, and to be more allowing and accepting of their choices, because yeah, I want my own choices to be respected, and I respect my right to have my choices too, and I respect other people's rights to choose what they need to for their own well-being. But yeah, I mean, can we cooperate, and can we listen, and can we share without like having that competition, comparison story come into play, like where my way's the better way and your way's wrong and my way's right, and all of that like silliness. And can we just, yeah, allow each other our own choices and our own ways of being and our own journeys, like without having to be tyrants and demand that they conform, or that we need to conform to their programs and their stories and their belief systems. And can we move beyond that? Can we see through that? Can we get through that? Can we get through to ourselves, and actually see what we have been choosing? And yeah, that's just something we get to look at for ourselves. But I had received a little Christmas greeting and a little note, kind of like one of those where just kind of tells how the family's been doing, and what they've experienced this year. And we've all experienced something this year, that's for sure. And yeah, and I realized too that, it has been hard for everyone, no matter what our beliefs are about what we're seeing, or what we're experiencing. We all have had our share of shit dumped on us, like, or come up for us to look at, to sift through, to sort through, to work with this mess. And so, like, yeah, I've been having more like totally like genuine like compassion for our struggles, like that we've been going through, but still trying to balance that with what I need, and making space to nurture me and to have my own space for clarity, so I could, receive some clarity, and I could work out some things with differentiation and, yeah, separation. And that's exactly what I needed for me, and I chose it for me in a loving way, through love, for all of we. And yeah, it's for me, for my love that I have and that I hold for me, and the gift like that I've been given to honor my energy. And so, yeah, with the compassion and knowing that, like, we've all had different fears come up, and different wounds show us different things, and maybe we cling to like control, or what we perceive as control, to protect ourselves, but then we're shutting everything else out, and yeah, we're operating unconsciously. And so, yeah, let's allow ourselves and be love for ourselves and be willing to look at some of these things, like, and face our fears and confront these things that are asking to be included, acknowledged, and seen, and received, and or integrated and released. So that's what I've been choosing for me. And so, yeah, I got this little note, and I chose to set it aside for a night and not to read it because I felt like it's late right now, and I don't know if I'm ready for that, to go into that without judgment, or without some kind of judgment or some kind of contraction right now. So I just set the little note aside for the moment, for the night, and then I asked for help about it too. Like, I'm willing to allow this, and to allow the other their experience, and yeah, and to offer, or to receive this gift that is being offered to me. And yeah, so the next day I picked it up, and I read it, and I was like, wow, like, it was totally different experience than it would have been if I had read it the night before. Like, seeing, like, through, like, the beliefs that are being presented, and actually, like, listening to the experience, and not needing to maintain or hold on to my position or my story, but making the space to observe and to listen to their story and observe that, and just think, wow, that's what they're experiencing right now. And wow, hasn't it been a tough year for all of us, I'd say. Like, instead of, like, yeah, just going into my own stories again and just shaking my head and like, saying that's not what I see. But it's like, there's more of an allowance there, and more tolerance and more acceptance to listen and to hear beyond, like, even beyond what's being said, but, like, yeah, and what's actually being shared. And so that was really cool for me, like, yeah, to be able to receive and see it in those new ways, like, through unity, like, yeah, that we're all having our own experience through our own ways, and through our own lives, and through our own journeys. And so just honoring and acknowledging that. And it was, like, so much lighter, and it did feel better, for reals, for sure. So I was grateful for that gift, and that gift of family connection, and in those memories too, of that love that we have shared and that we do share always. And yeah, that really helped, like, to let go of some of the judgments, or what's the wrong and right way here, because yeah, that's where we trip ourselves up and we fool ourselves sometimes, is that we think, yeah, there's one right way, or yeah, one right rhyme, or yeah, one right role to play to be worthy, or to be accepted, and to justify our lives, And so those are some good things to see. And yeah, just getting different things from my dreams that I've had. And I had one this morning that I wanted to share. It was a little interesting too. And I also did have, like, some archetypal themes and symbols for this time of year. And yeah, just to be accountable as well. That's a really awesome, looks like the sun's going to set soon, and we'll be moving into the 11th night of Yule, which is about self-reliance and accountability. And so I think that's pretty cool, like, to focus on those qualities and those virtues. Yeah. It's like the deeper meanings, that I really enjoy. And these traditions that are rich and hold so much, if we're willing to dig in and see, them. And so what I have right here is a sled, or a sleigh, and the colors red, green, and gold. That's, like, yeah, some alchemical colors and magic right there too. And this white, or the silver, the snowflakes, and the wheels that go and go and go. And yeah, it's really cool. So archetypally, it could be a representation or a symbol of the chariot, which in the Sacred Tarot is number 7, and that's our vehicle, and that's our word. So being accountable for our words and being true to our word and being impeccable with our word. Yeah. And knowing, yeah, that's how we create. We create through our words and through our thoughts and through our feelings and our intentions and our actions and our imagination. And so that's our creative vehicle to like receive, share, and bring forth all those gifts through the power of the word. And all that word, all the word holds, like logos. Yeah. So number 7, Chariot. And yeah, the gifts that are brought on that sleigh, and yeah, helps us move through and navigate life, too. And then there's another little symbol. It's a bell, but it's an old type of Santa, and reminds me of the shaman and the wise old man. And so I like that. The wise old man and the inner teacher. And then there's this little home. Little magical home. And so, yeah, what home do we have for ourselves? And what kind of room do we have in that home for our whole selves, for our whole full self? And yeah, is it a place that we're safe and comfortable and cared for? And we can choose that, and we can build that for ourselves. We can ask for that, and we can receive that for ourselves, because we are our own home for our own soul and for our own life to grow. And so let's attend to that inner home, to that home, and to that external home. Yeah, and we get to choose who we get to invite into our homes, and what kind of energy we invite into our homes, and what we want to nourish and support and welcome in, yeah, to our own home. And so like that's just kind of looking at how we direct our energy and honor that energy, and what we can build with it, and what we can create with it, or what we can sustain with it, or how we can destroy with that power that is unacknowledged or unclaimed or unprocessed or undigested, as well. So like, again, that's the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer. We have all that. So we get to claim all parts of that ability to create and be accountable for that. Yeah, for that power. And a lot of the times we're afraid of our own power, and we're afraid of our own bullshit too, because we're afraid we're going to be judged by our bullshit, or that our bullshit makes us unworthy. But our bullshit is like a huge fertile part of like our limitations sometimes, or like things that we've outgrown, that we still hold on to, or like things that we get to let go of, and things like that want to be repurposed, recycled, renamed, or reframed to be directed or used, utilized, honored, to build and create and sustain new life. And so like that bullshit is a huge part of our creative power. So let's not disown that bullshit. Let's claim that bullshit, and let's like be friends and make friends with our own bullshit, because our bullshit has a lot of potency in it, and the shit does. That's where the gold, yeah, can be made or found or transformed, like through that bullshit. And that also is like the gifts we've been given to work with, to play with, to develop for ourselves, because those are our greatest strengths that we get to cultivate and develop. But first we need to claim the power and the stinkiness of our own bullshit sometimes, and yeah, just honor that in our own ways as we're able to, and as we recognize and realize like that's a part of it too. And so we don't need to beat ourselves up about it, because we all have our own shit. And so just being responsible for it, and accountable for what we do with it, or what we get to create with it. And we can forgive ourselves for making mistakes, and we can forgive others as well. And but we decide who we choose to let into our life, and yeah, when we need to let go, and that's for us to decide. Yeah. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share some of those little festive little symbols, and some of the meanings that I get from them, and yeah, what they mean to me. And I'd like to share this little dream that I had this morning, and we'll see what else wants to be shared and received. So there's a villain in my story, in my dream that I was having, and it was a character from a show. I don't know if you've seen Fringe. It was on years ago. This is a J.J. Abrams show, but this character villain was Robert David Jones. He is like a diabolical, charming, and cunning, ruthless, evil, power-hungry, and possessive giver and taker away. This is what he represented to me in my dream. And he's either the life bringer and the destroyer. And we can stay in his good graces if we play along and conform to his demands that are ridiculous and contrived for his entertainment and whims. But if we step out of line, then we fall from grace. Outcast, scapegoats, scarlet letters, undesirable, untouchable, not enough. So there are 4 of us and him in a living room. He's all words and spells, entrancement, hypnosis, or mind hijacking of some kind. But the spell is breaking, and I'm reclaiming and recalling my mind. But I'm still a little hazy or fuzzy. He's giving commands and demanding, but in a subtle way, like we're all just supposed to obey these reasonable, sensible requests on or at his command. He's a master manipulator, an evil genius, and a psychopath. But he's so very polished and almost serene and regal-like and charming and skilled at implanting ideas and images, beliefs in people's minds, to bind and control them, to enslave them, to rule over them. So I'm examining a plant of mine, and it's in a little pot, and some of it is dying and like wilting, but there is new life sprouting and coming forth. Some of it has withered and some is alive. And the new life is being born as a small white rose. So I thought I like that symbolism, the white rose. That's like a symbol of the divine feminine. This stirs something in me to care again for life, for this life that lives in me. A promise, a message, an invitation to grow, to unify and harmonize, allow the unfolding mystery and just pay attention and be. So anyway, this father figure of this fallen patriarchy structure is asking us to stand and do a little choreographed dance or routine. And everyone stands up, even me, but then I realize I don't need to engage or waste my energy playing along with this game. So I sit back down on the couch, and I'm feeling tired anyway, and I'm not willing to go along with these schemes and ridiculous things that no longer have control or sway over me. But then my husband says, because he's one that's there, come on, stand up and do this with us. Like there's peer pressure of some kind. And he is good-natured, but he's blind to the lies. And I do stand up, but is it to please him? But then I realize it would just take or drain all of my reserves or wisely conserved energy, and I sit back down. I'm observing the scene and the players at play, and I notice an old relic. It's like a fossil or some kind of archaic art piece. It's an alligator's head and jaws made out of abalone or some kind of a shell, and there's something inside of it. Is it life? It's waiting to emerge and be brought forth, but this can only happen if it's broken, to release the treasure inside. So I try to open it up, and it breaks into 2, and I remove the inner casing to open that too. And it's round or circular, but it seems to be covered with some kind of rough cloth like burlap or a plant skin. It's slightly textured. And the new life or fruit and seeds are within this outer skin. And I feel a little bad about breaking open this lovely artifact that was skillfully made and preserved, but I know the true value and worth is inside, and this is a small sacrifice, and necessary to bring forth or free this new life inside. It is a little bittersweet, grieving the old to make way for the new. And yeah, that was like just the first part of that dream, and it continued into a little more interesting, like little themes that had to do, with like control and domination and manipulation and those kinds of things. And so, Yeah. I'm not yes. So we're going on a vacation. Are we getting on a cruise ship? I don't know. All sorts of vehicles and destinations. There's helicopters, a ship, a hotel, a garden. We're crossing busy streets. We're walking, gathering. There's gathering places and private rooms and shared spaces and individual rooms. My dog is there with me, and a trusted, innocent, loyal companion, and I keep an eye on her and am mindful and caring for her to make sure she stays safe with us, but I don't have a leash or anything, but she seems to understand not to stray. So I remember some ride in a helicopter to be brought to the ship that we're traveling in. And it seems like our room and all the guest rooms have glass doors and a white curtain for privacy that can be drawn or drawn aside. So maybe a veil or a covering of the mind. There are some people, known and unknown, familiar acquaintances, friends, and family, and a girl that seems to be assigned to me, like a helper or a mentor or maybe even a handler. Maybe, I don't know. There's something going on beneath the surface of things or the clean appearance of things. It feels a bit off in certain ways. So as long as we follow the rules, we're okay. But then it does get a bit nasty, and the feelings that come up in this dream are intense, really triggering emotions, stories, confrontations, and scenes, lots of resistance and pain. Because it hurts and it stings to be marked by the beast, the villain, the monster, the tyrant, the fiend. Scapegoated for going our own ways because we see through this flimsy-ass game of control and usurpation. When we say no to the vax, then we are outcast, no longer in favor of the crowd or in their good graces or acceptable standing. They're hostile to us, and they try to blame us, ridicule us, target us, harass, dismiss, devalue us, and make everything our fault. Misplaced blame. Seems like we are the pariahs, the outliers, the convenient scapegoats to blame when everything goes wrong. And we face hostility and angry voices everywhere we go. And I think to myself, what an awful vacation. LOL. So some people and this handler girl are brought into an interrogation room and are crying and pleading with others to see the damage they're doing to us and to babies with this groupthink mentality and the dangerous vaccines. But this makes the others more hostile, hateful, resentful, and they are unable to see that they are losing their humanity and their own connection to true empathy, because they are so stuck in their self-righteous stories and programs, dogma, myths, scripts, and lies. They're unable to see what's really happening. They are not themselves anymore. Something else takes over them, and they become the rage of the machine. Soldiers, self-police, and their own vigilantes, justifying their hate through this fear, blame, and rage, targeting others who see differently through the unconscious programs and a hive mind mentality. They are unreachable through regular means, stuck in the matrix, being fueled through disease, addicted to their pride, anger, and hostility, unable to listen, unable to see, and I've had enough of their bullshit and their small-minded mob mentality. Tired of their bullshit, I go to my room, and there's some girl cleaning the glass or the window, and she says something thoughtless and rude, and I respond or react with my own prudish attitude, but it makes them even louder, the noise in their heads, defending their righteous actions, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. And this is a mess of epic proportions, or it feels that way because hearts are shut down, closed off to any empathy and possibilities. They are trapped in their own prisons of pain and have chosen to remain in judgment, blame, fear, and rage, making fun of others and not really understanding how they have become self-made tyrants of shame, victims of mind control, perpetuating this game. It feels very shitty to stay stuck in this blame game. Keeping it going is such a damn drain. Never-ending cycle of suffering until we realize we can choose to see and create another way. So that's what I wrote down this morning about that, and that's as far as I got. But I choose to look into those themes a little bit more too, and it relates to, the scapegoat archetype and the outcast and the undesirable and the wrong one or the black sheep and all of that, and projections and deception, like of our own ego trickery, and that we're not, part of each other. And it's just interesting how we keep those games going sometimes, because we get stuck in a loop in our own stories and myths, that maybe aren't even ours. Yeah. Because I know like some of the stories that I, have been looking into, they weren't even mine. Like I don't even know where they came from. But but I thought that they were mine and I adopted them, or there was some part of me that unconsciously agreed to them. And so there's something to see in there, like what have we agreed to, and what have we been playing into, and how have we been played, through these uh, exploited emotions, or these unacknowledged, unprocessed, undigested, pain that we've been carrying. And how does that operate, or how do we operate? Um, through those ways, in unconscious ways. Um, because we're lost in our stories of being righteous or right, and we blame someone else and play the victim, or the hero, or the sweet one, or the caregiver, or the right one, or just any of those things like that we like to tell ourselves, like. And let's look at those attachments, and let's look at those stories, and let's let's be willing to see what they have to show us and tell us, and what they're offering and what they're asking us to see. And so, I'll just leave it at that for now, because that was potent, and there is like a lot of that going on too. And like the force that's being used because of the belief in this false programming that there's only one way, and that everyone needs to comply and conform in order not to fall from grace. And that's just a mechanism of control, like control and manipulation, and like domination of that like tyrant, and that usurper, and the fallen patriarchy, like programs and scripts. And so that's interesting too, about the white rose and the new life and the artifact that was opened and broken to birth the third through. So all those kinds of things. So they have really potent messages and archetypal themes at play there. And see into that and look into that to receive clarity, and move on forward, and let go of what I can and am ready to release about those things, and about that pain that had stirred up within me, and forgiving like those things, like with the exploitation and the scapegoating. Like we all have that DNA memory of being burned at the witch trials, and like also we've seen like genocidal tragedies and travesties in the world, and that's why it brings up a lot for us, because there's a lot of pain and suffering that's been perpetuated and repeated because of playing into those patterns again and again in unconscious ways. And the situation is a little different for our time, but there are parallels there if we're open to see and realize. So I'll just share this one more thing that I wrote. I flipped open my journal that I'm writing in now to this page that I wrote a couple days ago. I just wrote the quickening, the awakening, solar codes activating, initiating, changing, resolving, transitioning, listening, resting, becoming more of me. Expanding, changing, and growing, remembering who we are, who we can be, all our love for all of we. All God's love for all of we, all God's love for all of she, all I am for all of me, all her love for her whole being, all I am through all of me, all we are for all of we, all this love so be received, all this love received through being. All we are, our love for all of we, one love for we, all love we are, through all of we be. the circle of all things, our continuity to live, share, give, and be. Receive, open, soften, live, be free, be love, and be thy love, so be. I release and surrender our old beliefs and stories with love, and I offer it back and release it to the Mother. I forgive, allow, and surrender to the Mother. Thank you, we are free, I am free, love is free. I remember what is true, and I thank thee. I am willing now, I remember. I forgive and release, I remember. I trust and allow, I remember. I am this love, and I remember who I am, thy love for me and we. I remember who we are, all love for all of we. So, yeah, I'll just leave it at that and thank and bless and praise and celebrate that for remembering what's true and being true to ourselves and being willing to be accountable and embody, like, yeah, the truth of who we really are instead of clinging to old false images, stories, myths, and lies. Yeah. We can bless those and we can release those and we can thank those. We can integrate those. We can thank them and honor them for showing us and helping us remember who we are. So be love for yourself. Be well. All right. Take care of yourself. Be love for yourself. Bye-bye.